So the Xbox Game Showcase event has just concluded, and this event pretty much just focused on the games itself. We didn't get a look at the consoles, the Xbox Series S, if it's even a thing, the price or the release date. It was all about the games. And obviously we got some heavy hitters such as Halo Infinite, and also Fable was announced, which is a highlight of the event for me. I've been wanting a new Fable game for so long, and it's so great to see that we're finally getting one. But there's also plenty of other sort of hidden gems in this event as well. There's been some amazing ones, and I really can't wait to sort of share my thoughts on them. We're going to sort of break down a lot of the trailers, a lot of sort of the games announced, so I'll give my thoughts on it. But overall, I've got to say, it was a really good event, and in my opinion, because these were all sort of first party games, because they were all sort of Xbox Game Studio games, from just a purely first parties perspective between the Xbox Series X and the PS5 event, I would say the Xbox event was actually better. Obviously the PS5 event, we got like Resident Evil 8 and stuff like that, a lot of third party games as well, which we know also come to Xbox Series X. But just from the games that were announced from Microsoft themselves as well as Sony, I think Xbox definitely beat Sony in that regard. Hey, how's it going, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? My name is Doodles. If you're going to enjoy this video today, be sure to give this video a big thumbs up. Also subscribe with those notifications on, it will really help me out a lot. And yeah, without any further ado, let's just check these games out. First up in the pre-show, we got Dragon Quest XI, which was a huge success on the PlayStation 4, Nintendo Switch and PC, and now the game is coming to the Xbox One with Dragon Quest XI S. One of the highest rated RPGs of all time, and a game players can sink hundreds of hours into. Yeah, this is a really great move. I'm so happy to see this game coming to the Xbox. Now, definitely without a doubt, one of the best games in the entire thing happened on the pre-show, and that was Exo Mecha. Now, this game kind of reminded me a bit of Crysis, mainly just by the gun placement and just kind of like the general movement of the character. But it's going to be a brand new multiplayer, free-to-play game. And I gotta say, this game looks absolutely amazing. I was blown away watching this game, and this is definitely one of the highlights of the thing. This game is going to launch though late 2021, so players have got quite a while to wait yet. Next up, we saw a little bit more info on Watch Dogs Legions. Now, I'm not entirely sure what to make of this game, because when I played the first Watch Dogs, it's the only one I've played, by the way, out of the two, it just reminded me of like a lower quality Grand Theft Auto with some kind of like cool like tech mechanic to it, but overall it wasn't that impressive, and it kind of put me off playing Watch Dogs 2. But this one looks like it could be a lot different, so I'm really hoping it's going to sort of step up to the mark. But yeah, time will tell. The game will be released on October 29th on Xbox One, and then later on the Xbox Series X. So that kind of says that we're not going to have the Xbox Series X before October 29th. Next up was Echo Generation. Now, this was a quirky looking RPG game. I didn't actually expect it to be an RPG when I first started watching the trailer. It wasn't until they started showing actual turn-based combat in it that it kind of like, oh yeah, this is an RPG. But I really liked everything about this. I thought it was a really quirky little game. I like the sort of art style, the mechanics of it, and I do think the fact that it is an RPG is pretty cool and a bit more unique. It's not something that I expected. And it's not often that we sort of get turn-based RPGs these days, especially out of like newer franchises. So it's really great to see, and I'm really excited for this one. Then we're not going to talk about every single game from the event. I think there was like 32 games, maybe 32 plus the pre-show, I'm not entirely sure. But either way, at least 32 games in this event. So I'm not going to talk about every single game. I'm just going to sort of touch upon some of the highlights for me, some of the good points, the bad points, stuff like that. But the highlight, one of the definite highlights for me, probably the top 3 games in this whole event, was Balan Wonderworld. Now, Square Enix revealed this game. It's made by the creators who worked on Sonic and the Knight series. Now, this game focuses on music and theatre and has over 80 costumes with unique abilities. I've got to say, this game just completely won me over. The art style, the music, the direction, just it looked like a really fun game to play. And yeah, that's exactly what you want. Games are meant to be fun, and this definitely ticked all those boxes. This is exactly the sort of game that I enjoy playing. And now moving over to the main show. Now, obviously the focal point of the whole event is Halo Infinite, and we were treated to a 9-minute gameplay trailer. It was sort of like a regular trailer, then gameplay afterwards in form of a demo. It said actually like click start to press the demo, so it makes me sort of think that maybe we're going to actually get this Halo Infinite demo at some point. And man, this looked absolutely amazing. Now, it has been confirmed that Halo Infinite will run at a flawless 60 frames a second. There's going to be new weapons. It looks like Master Chief can sprint, I think, for the first time in the series. And there's new mechanics as well, such as like a grapple hook, which you could use to grapple items and then throw at enemies. You could grapple sort of environments, obviously like climb up somewhere. You could grapple enemies and sort of like throw yourself into them and then melee them. Like, it had some pretty cool uses for it, and graphically this game looks absolutely stunning in my opinion. If you watch the 4K version of the event, it is so much better than the 1080p version. If you watch the 4K one and then sort of like turn it on 4K and watch it, it definitely looks nicer. And yeah, it's a very beautiful game. Obviously, it's probably not the best looking game in the world, but it is definitely very nice to look at. The environments look awesome, the guns look cool, and yeah, I'm just super hyped for Halo Infinite. It is going to be coming out on Xbox One and Xbox Series X and PC on Windows Store and Steam on day one. If you've got Game Pass, you can play it for absolutely free using the Game Pass, or you can buy it on either of those platforms as well. It is going to be optimized for the Series X. The PC version may have a similar performance to the Series X, or they might hold back some of the options on the PC version to make the Series X sort of the definitive version of the game. But if you don't have a Series X, you can play on Xbox One, like I said, on Game Pass. You don't actually have to pay for it, which is super awesome. It's great to see that Microsoft are doing all their sort of first-party games through the Game Pass, which means that you don't have to fork out like $60 for each of these games, or $70 actually for the Series X games. You don't have to fork that out. You just pay one sort of monthly subscription for like $10, whatever it is, and you can just enjoy all of these games, and it's amazing. Now, next up, we got State of Decay 3. Now, this was revealed, but we didn't really see anything. It was like very early in development, sort of like a cinematic sort of trailer. It's going to launch on the Series X and Windows 10, and it will be on Game Pass as well, but there was no release date given. Not a great deal to say about this. I was really hyped for State of Decay 2, but I didn't really enjoy it when it came around to it, so I don't know what to make of this one yet. Now, another very early game is Forza Motorsport. This is going to launch on the Series X and PC. It will run at 60 frames a second, and the trailer was captured using the in-game engine. And now, I said it in my Formula 1 2020 review that I did recently, that racing games are a great way to show off the power of a platform and the graphics that they can do, because racing games always look fantastic, and this one was no exception. Now, another game that was intriguing was Everwild. Now, this is a cel-shaded game made by Rare, and in my opinion, it may just be the art style, but it had a very sort of Breath of the Wild vibe to it. And unfortunately, there wasn't much information given on it, but it looked awesome, and yeah, I'm excited to check this one out whenever it launches. We didn't get a release date or anything, but yeah, it looked really cool from what we did see of it. Now, moving over to some story-driven games. You guys like story-driven games. This next one had definite Life is Strange vibes to it, in my opinion, and that is Tell Me Why. Now, there wasn't a great deal sort of given on this game. We got to see a couple of minutes of a cinematic trailer. It seemed to sort of revolve around trying to uncover the mystery of a murder. It didn't really sort of give too much information on it, but it looked really interesting from what I saw. And this first chapter, so it will be a sort of episodic game. It will launch on August 27th. So, like I said, definitely Life is Strange kind of vibes. So, we multiple chapters for it, and you can sort of buy them periodically whenever they're going to be released. But yeah, super cool game. Next up is another story-driven game. This is an interactive drama. It definitely got Telltale vibes from it, and that is not a bad thing at all. This one is As Dusk Falls. Now, there wasn't a release date given for it, but it will launch on the Xbox Series X and PC on Game Pass. So another game, I think all of these games pretty much you can play on the Game Pass rather than having to actually buy them, and I think most of them are on PC as well, which means that using Game Pass Ultimate, you'll be able to play pretty much all these games on PC if you aren't getting the Xbox Series X at launch. But yeah, overall, this game looked absolutely fantastic, and definitely one that I'll be keeping my eye on. Now for this next one, if you like the look of the trailer, you don't have to wait very long to actually play it, because this next game, Grounded, comes out on July 28th, which is next Tuesday, so only a few days away. Now, Grounded is going to come out on Xbox One, Windows Store, and Steam as part of the Early Access program, and it will later launch on the Xbox Series X when the console is released. Now, I've been taking a look at this game a little bit more on Steam, and I'll give you some information that's sort of on Steam here. It says, the world is a vast, beautiful, and dangerous place, especially when you have been shrunk to the size of an ant. Explore, build, and survive together in this first-person multiplayer survival adventure. Can you thrive alongside the hordes of giant insects, fighting to survive the perils of the backyard? Now, I thought this was really cool because it reminded me a little bit of like a more, maybe like an easier accessible version of like a survival game like a Conan Exiles, which I really enjoy. It's got base building. I sort of saw the sort of cartoon graphics in the base building. I was like, this reminds me of Fortnite a little bit, but upon sort of deep looking, it's more like a survival, like a Conan Exiles type game, maybe a little bit easier to grasp and understand. And obviously, it's got the nice cartoon art style, which is very sort of appealing to a lot of people. And yeah, this is definitely one of the highlights for me, and I cannot wait to sort of check it out. Hopefully, it's not too expensive to buy, because I'm definitely interested in checking this one out, and I'll definitely be covering it for you guys. Hopefully, we can sort of make some good content on this game when it is released in just a few days. Now, Obsidian have been very, very busy people when it comes to the Xbox Series X, because as well as Grounded and the new Outer Worlds expansion pass, which is going to come on September 9th, they have also announced a new game called Avowed, which is a first-person RPG game. It's got a very sort of medieval kind of Dragon Age vibe to it, And yeah, overall looks super cool. People were calling it the next Skyrim, or at least saying it's going to be sort of like a good game to sort of bridge the gap, waiting for the next sort of Elder Scrolls games to come out. Obviously, we don't know too much about it yet, so it might have a kind of Elder Scrolls vibe to it. It might not. Only time will tell. But yeah, this looks super awesome. But like I said, no release date for it, but it's only going to launch on the Xbox Series X and probably PC. I don't think it's coming out on Xbox One. But yeah, time will tell. But yeah, looks fantastic. And I've got one question to ask you guys. Who doesn't like Jack Black? But it's a good job we all like Jack Black, because he is actually featured in the brand new Psychonauts 2. We got a brand new trailer which saw him singing the theme song for it. It sort of showed off a lot of the stuff in the game, and that Psychonauts 2 has been a long awaited game. And yeah, it's great to see Jack Black back in a video game. Obviously he's most noted for the Brutal Legend game. He's a very accomplished actor, and of course he does his music in Tenacious D. And he's got his really awesome YouTube channel here on YouTube, Jablinksy Games. And yeah, it's great to see Jack Black in a game. Who doesn't like Jack Black? Probably the most unique game in this entire thing was the Medium. Now, this features dual reality gameplay, which means that the game will render two different worlds in real time. There's going to be some kind of like dark world and light world, and the player will be able to sort of transition between them seamlessly. So it's got to render two identical worlds, sort of like the dark and light version at the same time, so players can just sort of jump between them. And that truly does show the power of the Xbox Series X, that it can render two different game worlds at the same time, making the seamless transitions between the two. Now, of course, because of this, it's not going to launch on the Xbox One. It's only going to launch on the Series X and the PC on Game Pass, but there's no release date yet, so expect it maybe late 2021, maybe 2022. And now there's going to be a lot of games as well that are going to be optimized for the Xbox Series X, which means the current gen games already out on the Xbox One, except the Xbox Series X version is going to be better with its higher frame rate, higher resolution, stuff like that. And there's going to be apparently over 100 games playable during holiday 2020 from a mixture of optimized for Series X games, as well as brand new releases for the Xbox Series X. Now, these include Ori and the Will of the Wisp, which is going to be playable at 4K 120 frames a second, and it's going to feature enhanced graphics that are better than the Xbox One version and possibly the PC version, as well as improved sound design, which they can only accomplish using the Xbox Series X. So it's going to be the definitive version of the game. There's also going to be games like Forza Horizon 4, Gears 5 and Sea of Thieves, which is going to have either higher resolution, higher frame rate, or both on the Xbox Series X. And like I said, over 100 games are going to be playable on the console over the course of the holidays in 2020, which just shows there's going to be a lot of content to play. So yeah, definitely a lot of stuff to keep yourself entertained over the Christmas period. And finally, we have the game that I've been waiting for many years, and I've talked about it either in videos on this channel or on games or in articles, and I've been wanting a brand new Fable game for the Xbox for so long, and we finally got a reveal of it at the end of this press conference. There wasn't a great deal of details actually revealed in it. It was just sort of like a world premiere, just to sort of say that this game exists, it is coming. And yeah, hopefully it's going to be absolutely amazing. Fable is one of my all-time favorite series, and it's been like 10 years since Fable 3 came out. We haven't really had anything else, maybe cut spin-off things, but nothing sort of mainline, and definitely nothing like the last sort of 4 or 5 years. So it's really cool to see that a new Fable game is in development. It's probably going to come sort of 2021, 2022, but the main thing is that it is here. Now, it also says that it is optimized for Series X, which makes me believe it's going to be released on Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and likely PC as well. And it will be on Game Pass, being a first-party game, which is awesome. So yeah, there's pretty much like the highlights of the event, in my opinion. Now, overall, I've got to say, it was a fantastic event. And obviously, the PlayStation event we got a couple months ago, like, showcased a lot more third-party stuff. Like, we got Resident Evil 8 and a lot of sort of amazing games like that. But in terms of the first-party games, there wasn't a great deal that was revealed that was, like, mind-blowing. Like, there was only a handful of games that were, like, sort of revealed that were first-party that made you go, like, wow, that was amazing. So I think in this instance, especially with the fact that it's all focused on first-party games, I think the Xbox won this one, in my opinion. Obviously, the third-party games like Resident Evil 8 are going to be available on the Series X as well. So yeah, I think so far, I think the Xbox Series X is impressing me a lot more than the PS5. However, obviously the PS5 does have amazing series like The Last of Us, God of War, stuff like that, which they probably will be releasing a little bit later on in the consoles generation. But sort of at launch window, I sort of am more intrigued by the Xbox Series X right now. Obviously, one of the main downsides about the Series X is that if you've got a really good PC, you don't actually need to buy a Series X. And obviously with the support that they're doing with the Xbox One, you can actually play a lot of these games on the Xbox One anyway, so it kind of gives you a lot less reason to buy a Series X. But I suppose if you're not a PC gamer, then obviously the Series X is a great investment. But if you've got like a really high-end gaming rig, you could probably get away with sort of passing on it, just getting Game Pass Ultimate and just playing all these games. So It's kind of like a great thing for us consumers, but a bad sort of thing for Microsoft, because although we can play all these games, especially for cheap using Game Pass, there's a very good chance that the PS5, regardless of its quality, is going to beat out the Xbox Series X in terms of units, regardless whether it's the better console or not, purely for the fact that people can play a lot of the games on the Xbox One, and then when that sort of gets phased out, they can still play them on PC. If they're sort of any sort of PC gamer, they'll at least be able to play them even at lower frame rates and lower sort of graphical settings than the Xbox Series X, but they'll still be able to play them, which gives people a lot less reason to buy the Series X. Now obviously the Xbox Series S is long rumored to be happening. It's pretty much like a given that it is going to happen, and it is said to be a lower cost entry rate into next gen, with prices rumored to be as little as £200 to £300, so that's going to make it a lot more affordable than the PS5 or even the digital PS5. If it's got a disc drive and it's cheaper than the PS5 digital version, that's going to be a huge selling point. And for those people that don't want to spend 500 quid on the Series X, getting something like a £200 to £300 console is definitely more likely when it comes to getting the next generation. But obviously time will tell. We didn't get any hardware stuff today. That will probably be next month in the August event, and obviously the price and the release date, and that will hopefully come then, but only time will tell. But there we go, that is my thoughts on the Xbox Game Showcase event. Overall, loved it a lot. Like I said, better than the PS5 in my opinion. Now I'm really torn which one is the better console, but I suppose time will tell. What did you guys think? Let us know in the comment section down below. And if you enjoyed this video today, want to see more stuff like this on the channel, give this video a big thumbs up, subscribe with those notifications on. And on that note, my name is Doodles. I thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.